The Overcome and Conquer show is presented by The Project. The Project is a full immersion, 75-hour experience designed for men who know in their core they are not living up to their fullest potential. Rather than waking up every morning ready to dominate life, the mediocre man rolls out of bed and slides into the same unfulfilling routine they've unhappily been in for way too long. The Project is for men that have lost their internal flame and motivation to conquer. It's for men living an unfulfilling life that lacks excitement and purpose. Sound familiar? Then listen up. The Project is specifically designed to challenge you mentally and physically. We push you to the ledge of self-limiting beliefs and prove you've got much more in the tank. We kill the bitch and unleash the beast. We uncover the demons that hold you back and turn extreme pain into superpowers to dominate life. In the end, we turn mediocre men into modern-day knights. We forge a brotherhood and bond that levels you up as a better husband, father, and friend. But the Project is not for every man. In fact, it's not for most. For men who are okay with being in a rut and achieving less than their fullest potential, the Project isn't for you. If you're not willing to put in the work to fix what isn't working, the Project isn't for you. However, if you're done white-knuckling it through life, living one day at a time with no sense of purpose, and are willing to do what it takes to improve, the Project holds the key to unlocking the next chapter. Graduates of the Project join a brotherhood of modern-day knights and become the authors of their destiny. They have their fire reignited and reclaim dominance over their family, fitness, finances, and faith. If this resonates with you and you want to learn more, we encourage you to apply today at www.mdkproject.com/OC show.
Everybody wants to be on top of the mountain. The problem nowadays is people want to get dropped off at the top of the hill and look down.
It's that I overcome mindset that makes all the difference.
See, the way we're taught is you're going to claw, you're going to scratch, you're going to bite, you're going to dig, you're going to do whatever it takes to get to the top of that mountain.
That unequivocally is how I have managed to keep myself moving forward and finding success.
2 SEALs, 1 mission. The Overcome and Conquer Show.
And welcome back to the Overcome and Conquer show. We are on a run, man. We just continue to go, dude. And today is no different. We have got a beast of a guest.
Shoot, shoot. It's rare that it's going to be man crush for me. You know, this guy is a mentor of mine in multiple fashions. I'm not even going to get into it right now. I can't even look at him. I see him and I'm blushing looking at him. This guy is the sensei of boom, and we'll get into that.
He's a mentor for a lot of people out there, and he is setting the example. You talk about somebody who stands in the face of the storm and says, I will not back down. Just a shining example of that. I mean, he truly epitomizes this overcome and conquer mindset we talk about. So, so real quick, you just finished up the second project, my friend.
We
Overcome and Conquer show. Presented by The Project.
Nice plug. Nice plug. I like that. Got to plug it. You know what I'm talking about, who I'm looking at there. We're going to keep you a surprise right now. Yeah, we just finished. We had 14 people start, 14 men. And needless to say, I think our individual knows a whole lot about ringing a bell. Not personally ringing a bell. I apologize, sir. Knows the concept of what ringing a bell means. We had 5 bell ringers. Wow. It's not for everybody, you know. If you want to be on top, you got to be willing to roll up them sleeves and get dirty. And what we're noticing is people think just because they pay money, they think they're going to show up and get a certificate. Not here, my friend. Not on my watch. So, much love and respect to class 001 and 002. Our tribe is growing. And we're very passionate about it, but we will not cut corners.
I love it. I love what you guys are doing. I mean, it's one of the biggest things that you and I have talked about. I mean, we've, you know, in this day and age, there's I write about it in the new book, that there's just a lack of grit and resiliency with the kids that are growing up. There's a lot of men that are taking a back seat and they're not willing to stand up for what they believe in, unlike our guest. But that's what I love about the project and what you guys are building.
And before we get him on, because again, I'm watching, I know he's frothing at the mouth to get on here. What have you been up to?
Oh, dude, everybody. I'm blessed, man. I am blessed. Dude, I've had some great opportunities. I just got back from Boston, did my first TED Talk which was amazing. Just incredible.
You turned us down for Vegas for it, I know.
I did. I wanted to be out there with you guys, but obviously that opportunity came up. TEDx Boston, which is a big stage. And I got to tell you, I never, ever, ever get intimidated speaking. I have spoken in front of 60,000 people before. And
I have your text, which you said it. I was scared shitless.
I tell you what, man, I really was. I mean, it was just such a big opportunity. I wanted to leave it all out there. I wanted every ounce of emotion, belief, passion, relatability to the audience I had in that 15-minute speech. And
we're going to get him on right now. But before we go any farther, I'm pissed off at you about something because I saw your epic, slideshow before behind it. There was the X and there was the Trident. I didn't see me.
Ray, you probably missed it. It was a very quick shot about being on the X. And I told people sometimes you're going to have a very intimidating man that pins you to these situations. And it was a picture of you and, like the raw boom face. And so, but it was only on there for about a millisecond.
Okay, I'm going to call bullshit, but let's move on. Let's move on to our, let's do it.
All right, guys, let's jump into the show today. I mean, obviously we're out there. Great things are happening. If you are a man who is looking to step it up in your life, you definitely need to check out the project. The links are in the show notes. And then for the rest of us, man, we are going to be grinding, man. It's we're rolling into a new year here.
Choo choo.
So
train to success.
All right, so I want to get into, because our guest's amazing. There is a ton of content to go over because this guy has been there and done that. So his bio was so long that literally I fell asleep while reading it because I was exhausted before I got to the end.
I'm looking at it right now. Wow.
I'm going to hit the highlights of our amazing guest career. So he started out as a United States Marine, and I got to tell you, if I went into combat and I didn't have a SEAL, I'd want a Marine next to me.
Amen.
The guys are studs. From there, he went on to become a SEAL. So he is a SEAL brethren. He is a combat veteran. From there, he went on to the elite Naval Special Warfare Development Group, where he was an operator and a sniper and an instructor. Left the military, went out into the federal law enforcement world, working as an agent. From there, once again, following his passion, when he sees injustice, this guy steps up into the fray, into the storm, and basically said, you know what? I'm tired of watching these animals on other areas of the world get slaughtered, and got into the counter poaching realm and was leading teams to hunt down poachers in various hotspots around the world, and became the host of Battleground Rhino Wars.
Amazing
some of you
series,
are beginning some of you are like, oh, I know who this is.
I was so jealous. I wanted to be on it. That was my bucket list to get on a show with him, but it didn't happen. It's all right. Keep going.
It's all right.
Keep going.
Then from there, he went on because he's got such a deep background and tactical expertise, operational expertise. He was teaching high threat mobile security for U.S. Department of State and other OGA groups in hotspots around the world. And from there, his claim to fame, or not even his claim to fame, but his passion right now, he is absolutely making a difference in an organization that is fighting child sex trafficking. And if you guys are not aware, this is an epidemic. It is a problem. And if you have kids, you want to be listening to this show because he is the founder of Veterans for Child Rescue. It is my honor to introduce my teammate and friend and all around overcome and conquer stud, Mr. Craig Sawman Sawyer. Welcome to the Overcome and Conquer show.
Boom.
Hey, Jay and Ray. Thanks for having me on, guys. This ought to be a good time. It'll be a kick.
Yeah, brother. Welcome to the show, man. We're honored to have you on. You really do have a hell of a resume.
It's rare. We've worked together before in a different setting, if you can remember way back then. And I remember the first time, I know what site it was. When I showed up and you were there, I was like, holy shit, that's fucking Craig Sawman Sawyer, and I knew who you were from the teams, and we're going to give some really cool statistics and, fun facts that people need to know. And I remember that trying to how hard it is to try to look cool, keep the gut sucked in when you're overseas. And I see you, this big, tall fucking guy who's, you were huge into fighting, and you taught the SEALs of the SEALs how to be snipers. And I'm like, just don't fuck this up when you say hi to him, And I remember where we were at, and I was just like, hey, I'm Cash. And you're like, yo, what's up? And that was it. And I was just, he's like, get the fuck away from me. But no, learned a lot from you over there. Thank you so much. You're a huge mentor to me on many fashions, not only as a warrior, but as a father also.
Well, thanks for the kind words, Ray. And I am more friendly than you just described.
No, you are. It was maybe it might have been the intimidation factor. I mean, you were like, because when people say, "Oh man, he's a big guy," you're like, "Oh yeah, sure." Like people say, "I'm a big guy. I'm 5'7," but you are big and you're wide and you're in shape and you're even. Then I don't know about now. You were even more handsome than me, so I hated you at many levels. I'm kidding.
Ryan. No, we gotta go with Jay on the handsome. I give him. I harass him because he's even blown up. He's more handsome than me. Still.
That's all
inferior.
Hey, that's all the plastic surgery. Woo. Come on, let's be real. I wasn't this good looking. I had to get shot in the face.
He makes the Kardashians look like fucking rookies. 40 surgeries.
I got no excuse over here.
All right, Craig. I got a serious question. So you started out your career as a Marine, and once a Marine, always a Marine. And then you went on to become a SEAL, and we know we are SEALs for life. So what trumps what? That's what we want to know.
Well, it depends on where I'm standing at the moment, because I've been overseas in austere conditions and through means that I don't quite understand. The Marines on 10 November find a way to bake a cake and have a ceremony for the Marine Corps birthday.
Yes.
It will happen. And they're like, "Saw, man, you got to be in the ceremony." I'm like, "Man, I was only in the Marines for 2 years. I was only a reservist." They're like, "You're always one of us, brother. You're a Marine." And so they have me in it. And the esprit de corps is like nothing else I've ever seen. I mean, those of us that were Navy SEALs, quiet professionals, we know what we did, and that's enough. But the Marines just have an esprit de corps and a pride in their unit like nothing else I've ever seen. So whenever I'm around Marines, man, especially if it's around 10 November, man, it's all Marine Corps 24/7. So it feels really good though. They're genuine. They're hard chargers, and like you guys said, man, in combat, they're no joke unit, man. They're fighters.
Dude, I love the Marine Corps. The Marines owned the battle space when we were in Fallujah in the Anbar province. So I got to know a lot of those guys well. We did some missions with those guys, and I have so much respect for the Marines that are out there. If you're a Marine right now, devil dogs, just mad respect for you. So Craig, awesome.
So I have a question. And usually, Craig, what we do is we do a word of the day. We're going to get into it. But I want to ask you a question, because what we're trying to do is we like to extract things from you, from people that most don't know. I mean, your bio is fucking impressive. I mean, see, you name it, you've done it. But what I want to know, and what we want to know, is who is Craig Sawyer? Like, beyond all and we'll get into it, the awards and the accommodations and everything you accomplished, who is the real you? If we had to go
deeper. You see it. Yeah. Who are you?
Yeah. Well, sometimes I get frustrated because I don't feel like people understand me, because I do have kind of a wide scope of my interests and values. But, like, for instance, when I'm over in a war zone and I'm running a high threat mobile security team, I may be pretty short and pretty blunt and quick with my comms and seem a little bit hard-nosed, but that's because that's the situation that I'm in. Whereas if you caught me racing motocross, I'm like a giant child, just a grin, ear-to-ear grin. I just can't believe I'm there and racing motorcycles and winning trophies. And I was in my late 30s and 40s when I was racing. So it's just a big, happy juvenile out there, just loving every minute of it. So, I've been a musician and rock and roll drummer, and I've played drums in church, and there's just different things that make me tick. I guess if you look back at my upbringing, and I want to share this, guys, I'm glad you pinged on that, because it's important for the listeners to know. I want to empower people and share something that, in our country, the traditional family unit is under attack. And if you look all the way back to the Cold War era, you can see the Russians recovered documents, and their strategy was to attack us from the inside, to break down that which made the United States so strong. And one of the things that breeds the most resilient, the most productive, and the most secure citizens and warfighters is a strong, loving, and mother and father family unit. And that has been very systematically targeted for destruction by our enemies. And I didn't realize till I was about my senior year of high school that a lot of my buddies would go to Colorado to go skiing from Texas. We were from Southern Texas on Christmas break. And for Christmas, I'm like, my gosh, guys, how can you go up there and leave your families for Christmas? That's the best day of the year. It's so special. And they said, Craig, you got to realize our families aren't like yours. Our parents are all divorced. Christmas is a time of pain for us. And I thought, man, how tragic. And that's when it really was my epiphany to realize what I had that I thought was standard, that was normal, was actually very rare. It was the minority, that you have a loving mother and father and this secure upbringing that caused you to feel like you mattered and allow you to go for your dreams in life, and not feel like if you stumbled at something that your life didn't matter and that you were worthless. So I think that head start that I got with a loving family caused me to be so secure that it gave me, guys, the inner strength to go for my dreams. And that's why you've said some kind words about my bio and all the things that I've accomplished. That I want to give credit where it's due. I had a loving foundation, and I knew that it wasn't an arrogance. It was just a confidence and a security. It was really, I think the word is a security, that I mattered, and that if I stumbled at something, it was going to still be okay, because I would find a way to win, or I'd find something else to succeed at. So I was just a regular guy, nothing special. I just was inclined to go for my dreams. I saw something I wanted to go do, and I just got up off the sofa and I started preparing to go do that thing. And then I went for it. And I just want everybody listening to know that they can accomplish things too if they're willing to put in the work and the prep to go succeed at it. They can do it. They just have to actually get up and take those steps, and it is empowering. And that's kind of what makes me tick. I started off as a hard-nosed fighter. I was fighting martial arts tournaments. I had a big brother that was 5 years older than me. He beat me pretty seriously on it, not injuring, but he was just a loving big brother that just made me tough. That's what he really was. No breaks with him, man. I was going to get beat every day, and I got tired of getting beat. Right?
Hell yeah.
He's 6'3", he's southpaw, and he was muscular, and he had a punch that could knock me all the way flat on my back, and he would just punch me in the chest, and I got sick of that, man. And so that's where I really give credit for my bulldog tractor gear of determination, where if I don't care how bad it gets, I'm gonna fight through it. I developed that sense of never quit through my big brother, and I applied that to high school football, being a 5A D captain of a football team in Southern Texas. Man, football was a big deal there. I was eating up with it. I loved being the hardest hitter on the team, or at least I tried to be the hardest, meanest dude. And I really liked that. And that kind of started shaping my psyche. And then I was reading, things about the Marine Corps, Force Recon, and I wanted to go off and become that. And the silent professionals, and just how deadly and capable those guys were. I wanted to become that. And so I went for it, and as I grew older, I would come home, guys, from the SEAL team and visit my family near the Woodlands, Texas, and try to, just take my mom and dad out to lunch or something. And I could not take them anywhere without people coming up and hugging on my dad saying, "Oh, Pastor Sawyer, bless you. You've changed our family's life because you prayed with my husband for 3 days and nights as he was dying of cancer in the hospital. And I want you to know now that our daughter has changed and she's got a family of her own," and all these really just beautiful stories. And I was blown away that I couldn't take him anywhere without people coming up to him and reminding him of things that he had done that changed their lives on a spiritual front. And I thought, okay, I'm a warrior. I've gone after the physical enemies of the United States to kick the pants out of those guys to stop them from coming over here and ruining our freedom. So I understand, what it is to be a warrior and fearless in that regard. But what he did for our country was a huge contribution on a totally different level. And I would say that if to understand what makes me tick would be to realize that my initial start was this warrior mindset, and I still value and appreciate that's still a huge part of what I am. But I also want more of what my father had, his values, and what caused him to care about people and just give to them and help build them and strengthen them and encourage them and change their lives for the positive. So it's kind of all those things, and wrapped up with in a recreational minded kid that loves playing on the beach and playing drums and bands and riding dirt bikes and surfing and rock climbing and all the things that the outdoor. I'm very much an outdoorsman. I've always just been happiest in that space.
Craig, so I definitely think, everything you're saying is awesome. I think it, and I think it's summarized. We asked you, as we ask every guest on the show, for your word of the day. And I think everything you said right there is summarized in your word of the day. And we always, Mr. Cashcare, would you please give us the word for the day and the definition? And then what we'd like to do is, Craig, I'd love for you to kind of summarize why it's your word. So, Ray.
Again, I feel silly saying the definition, who I'm looking at, but the word you chose, I'm going to read it right off of Webster's. So this isn't me, but it says the word of the day is action. Again, action, the fact or process of doing something typically to achieve an aim, which I like that with you aiming as a sniper. But what is your words? What is your roots of that word action, and why did you choose it?
Man, it's goes back to what I touched on earlier of getting off the sofa, getting out of that comfy space and taking that first step, going for that objective that you may want to accomplish in life. And I think that's so important because I see that fear paralyzes so many people and robs them of their dreams. And action is the key to overcoming that complacency and that sedentary lifestyle that causes people to fall into a kind of funk of despair and stagnation. Action is where it's at, man. So actions speak louder than words. Right now, there's a lot of propaganda trying to beat the American populace into submission, saying that, that somehow words matter more than actions. They, on the news, we don't hear about achievements and positive things. We just hear about, but how they said it.
Or their feelings.
Somebody may be just crushing the stats across the board, and they're like, yeah, but how he said it's just, we just have to get rid of him. and they're trying to invert our understanding that actions speak louder than words. And I reject that rhetoric and that propaganda. We all instinctively understand that actions speak louder than words. That's reality. And I think it's important that we embrace that and reject anything negative that would try to beat us into submission with the PC police out there.
Hell yeah. So what I'm hearing is, you're saying you're a man of action. I think you're a man of passion. That's what I hear, because I'm going to fast forward past your illustrious SEAL team career and OGA and everything else to what was one of my favorite things to watch you do. And you know what it is. I used to call you Battleground Rhino Wars. Loved it. Tell me about your passion with that and how that came up, because this, seriously, I've had a show too, is the best fucking show I've ever seen.
And obviously it translated into action. I mean, that's one of the big things I love seeing is you saw something and you said, I'm not just going to stand idly by. I'm not going to send money to, I don't know if, I'm sure there are plenty of counter-poaching organizations out there. I'm not just going to send money to them. You got off the couch, as you say, and took action.
And you didn't just fly across the street to do this. We went to another continent. I mean, it was amazing what you did. So maybe you can elaborate on that.
Yeah. Well, Peter Lamberty was the head of a wildlife documentary company out of South Africa called Aquavision. They make fantastic wildlife documentaries. Well, Peter is a South African Special Forces veteran. And he was over in LA, in Hollywood, interviewing a lot of the different networks and mapping out the effort for this series. And he gave me a call and he said, hey, Craig, everybody's telling me you have to be the leader for this team. We need an American Spec Ops team to go run counter-poacher operations in South Africa. because they're about to kill off the last of an endangered rhino species. It's going to be the end of a 50 million year species. It's horrific. It's an unthinkable outcome, and it's all over a misnomer that they think the rhino horn has magical powers, but they're destroying the last of the rhinos. Will you come run operations with me? And I said, well, yeah, I love animals. I always have. I'd be interested in doing it. He goes, yeah, well, he goes, first of all, why you? Why is everybody telling me, oh, you need Sawman? I said, I don't have any idea why people are telling you that, Peter. I said, I love animals, and I'm a man of action, and I'd be inclined to help. So maybe they just know my heart and figured I'd be, and I've helped stand up different operations in austere, hostile environments around the world. So maybe because I've got some muscle memory of doing that, I do enjoy standing up new operations in places like that. So he's like, okay, well, we want to film it. And I said, nope. And he said, well, let me explain. And I said, well, first, Peter, what we're going to do is, if you want the rhinos saved, we got to put an end to the guys that are exterminating them. And we're not going to play patty cake. We're going to bring a real team over there, and we're going to start cracking some heads, and we're going to start putting poachers down, and we're going to make a difference. We're going to turn this fight around. You want to win, don't you? He goes, yeah. But he goes, understand, I'm a spec ops vet, Craig. I get it. He goes, and you can have your operational success, whether you take out one poacher or a million, there's always going to be more. And here's the dynamic. The risk versus reward dynamic is inverted, meaning the reward is about $500,000 per rhino horn on the black market in Asia.
Oh, wow.
And the risk is only getting jailed for a short time. So a lot of people are taking that risk.
Yeah.
And we've got trouble. And it's not that we don't understand here in South Africa how to defend our rhinos. It's that we don't have the funding and the political backing. And by bringing some Yanks over and making a series about it, we can show the global populace the struggle to save this species and cause them to care, because they'll care more about American team than they would a South African team. I'm like, okay, brother, let's film it. I get it. He goes, yeah, then we can bring greater funding to save the rhinos and defend them, and greater legislation for stronger enforcement and harsher penalties for it. And I'm like, okay, so that was why we got started. And, sadly, the network wanted a kind of a show where they weren't really interested in the fight between us and the poachers. They revealed to us while we were there filming the short miniseries that they really just wanted drama between my team members. So if one of my team members got, tired after 3 days and nights of not sleeping and working out his safe houses and running operations, if one guy kind of asked the other guy a question and got a little frustrated that he couldn't understand him, then all the cameramen would come running. Like that was more interesting to him than our operations against the poachers, almost like a Jersey Shore
TV drama, man. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah, but with animals. And we're like, what are you guys doing, man? That's not what we came here to do. We're not willing to have any part of that. So I think because we weren't young and desperate talent, like college students, desperate to be on TV, they couldn't control us and entertain people at our expense the way that they had hoped. So they didn't pick that series up, but it would have been a beautiful series and a fantastic real world contribution to saving the rhinos. And so I say shame on them for not picking it up and working with us, because man, our hearts were in it, and we had created a fantastic capability to make a genuine change in the extermination of the rhinos there. But
well, obviously, that was an amazing chapter of your life, and I mean, just incredible. But it obviously led you down the road of your current passion that you are. Oh my God! I mean, we talk about action, man. You are the point man on this front. I know you and I just talked that you just came back from Congress a few weeks ago speaking on this issue. And that is, of course, the child sex trafficking issue and the epidemic that it is. And you are in the forefront with your organization, Vets for Child Rescue. Can you I think there are so many Americans out there, including a lot of our listeners right now, who have no idea the level of issues. You know, it's been thrust into the spotlight a little bit with what happened with Jeffrey Epstein.
Didn't kill himself.
But I think Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. But I think that there's a lot of people who don't even grasp that you're literally seeing the tip of the iceberg, and the iceberg is massive under the water with what people can't see. So can you tell us, A, what led you down that road, and B, why you were so passionate about trying to make a difference in this?
Yeah, well, it was a friend of mine that had been in the CIA for a while, and he said, Craig, you know, the area of southern Texas, just north of Houston, where we grew up, is the hottest epicenter for child sex trafficking in the United States, and it's bigger than anybody would fear. And he was explaining to me about it. He was pretty involved in
Craig,
law enforcement and helping counter it. Go ahead,
Craig. What year was that?
That was about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I realized at the time, what he was describing to me, I saw, coming from a covert background, I saw that the problem, guys, was that the American populace is unwitting to the threat. And that's why it's so easy for the traffickers. They're enjoying the cover of secrecy. And I wanted to compromise their mission. I wanted to compromise the entire operation of child sex trafficking in the continental United States, because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. They estimate it's $38 billion a year in the United States, just trafficking children for sex. And it's the fastest growing criminal enterprise on earth. So if you go door to door and ask your neighbors, hey, did you realize this is the case? They'd be like, what are you talking about? I don't see it. But they don't know what to look for. And so I realized real quick that just filming a documentary, guys, was the biggest way to compromise that criminal enterprise and that attack against our children.
You know, and what I think people don't understand is how close this hits to home. You know, Jason and I have daughters. You can relate. So, like, when we were going to hit this topic, we talked to you before. I mean, like, I want to know, what are the signs? What the hell can I do? I mean, you know, this is three SEALs talking here, and I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm embarrassed. I'm oblivious to it, and probably when we're done with this, I'm going to get off and say, hey, how the hell can I help? Because I have a daughter. And I care for, I get emotional with this, sorry. Other people that have children, not just girls, but what do we do to help, to put up the fight, to stop this horrible shit?
Yeah, that's an important question, Ray. One of the things we need to do is pay attention to who is in our kids' lives. What people are they hanging out with? And what family situations are our children subjected to when they go to visit their friends' homes? What are their friends into? We have to involve ourselves. So many people don't know, and that's where it starts. Other problems start in their own home, and parents may be witting or unwitting to that. They may be part of it or not part of it. One of the biggest things that happens is the smart devices. Our children all have cell phones, iPads, laptops, Xboxes. Predators stalk our children through all of those devices, through the apps, the interactive apps. And your child may think that they're just chatting or playing a game with a friend of theirs. You're like, who's your friend? Oh, this is, so-and-so. And like, where'd you meet him? Well, I haven't met him in person, but I've known him, online here for a long time. Well, chances are there's a great chance that it's a full-grown predatory male adult stalking and grooming your child to put him in harm's way. And one of the ways that they do it is they'll ask them for, let's say it's a boy child. You've got a young teenager. He's 13, 14. He may be chatting with someone who he thinks is a young female, a new girl at his school. She's reached out to him, sent a beautiful picture. Hey, I'm new at your school. I saw you in the hallway. I need a friend. I need to be anchored here. And he's like thinking, wow, she's really pretty. I'll be the nice guy. And this is cool. And she's like, yeah, yeah. And then she starts asking him for pictures of himself. And then maybe he shows her something. And then she realizes, well, she reveals that she's not who she said she was. And if you don't show me video now, I'm going to show your parents. I'm going to post it to everybody at your school. I'm going to post it online. And so there's a blackmail problem. And so now the predatory adult wants video, and he's selling that, and he's sharing it with other pedophiles online. And the kid ends up in a compromised position. And they say, hey, we can work this out. Just meet me at the corner of the playground, or blah, blah, blah. This place, that place. Next thing you know, they get thrown in the back of a creepy rape van, never to be seen or heard from again. They do it to children of all ages, male, female. And so that's just one of the scenarios. That's how it can kind of devolve and play out. So we lock our garage doors, our vehicles, our windows, and all the doors of our homes, and we go in our master bedroom. We think that we're secure and our children are secure in their bedrooms, but they're not. We may have left the windows and doors wide open because the predators are streaming live with your children in their bedrooms. And a lot of these apps, guys, they've got facial recognition software. They've got geo-tracking where the predator can stalk and figure out exactly what house they're in. It's just very, very dangerous. And so we've got to answer your question, we've got to take away that privacy. We've got to realize that it's not respectful to give your child privacy on his smart devices. It's dangerous. It's risky to give them that. We have to overcome that initial instinct. We've got to assert ourselves, dig into their phone. Hey, I'm sorry, I'm going to need your password. I've got to be able to do regular spot checks to make sure you're okay, because you don't understand at your age how these predators are stalking you. Wow. $38 billion, guys. That's a lot of money, and a lot of big players internationally. And some of it, you mentioned Jeffrey Epstein. Well, players, multi-billion dollar or billionaires that move a lot of money around the globe, buy a lot of political influence with blackmail and so forth. And there's a lot of kidnapping, and there's a lot of harm waiting out there for our children. So we do have to assert ourselves and dig in to make sure they're okay.
And Craig, so you've gotten actually a lot of pushback. I mean, you have had multiple times where you've had accounts deleted. You have obviously been attacked online. You've been told you're a liar. You've been told you're a conspiracy theorist. And I'm glad the Jeffrey Epstein thing came out, because even though I'm sure so many people either ignored it or didn't pay attention to it, it links to what the reality is, that there are evil people with a lot of money that are basically exploiting kids for their own pleasures, which is really what it is. And that there are people tied at the highest levels, like you said, political blackmail, political influence. I know I saw the report that Epstein had cameras in every single room in his house, and basically anybody that came in there, he was filming to use that. So, so you've encountered all kinds of resistance. Tell me about that. Tell me about going to Congress and how that went, and what you're trying to accomplish by, obviously within the political influence arena.
Yeah, man. Well, it's no surprise anymore that Hollywood's got a foot into pedophilia. That's what a lot of the owners of the big networks or the big studios seem to be into, with their pool parties and the dozens of naked boys, underage boys around the pool. And we've all heard the stories. And I've worked in the film and television industry quite a bit over the last decade, and I've got a lot of personal friends that have been privy firsthand to a lot of these scenarios. And it's sick and it's disgusting, but the same culture exists in DC with a lot of our politicians, and they don't want it addressed. Big tech, sadly, Silicon Valley has got a rampant pedophilia problem as well, and a lot of Middle Eastern Islamic influence, and they're big into pedophilia, and they don't want us that are inclined to protect children to have a voice. And so sadly they shadow ban, they delete, They suppress anybody who's speaking out in defense of the children against child rapists or child trafficking. So we just learned it the hard way, seeing all the different crowdfunding platforms deleting our accounts, trying to seize our funds without explanation or communication. It's just been really creepy to see.
And what are the reasons they've given you? Because you're right, it is absolutely creepy.
They don't, Jay. They don't even give reasons.
I think the shift's about to hit the fan, though.
Yeah. They can't give a reason because I think the reason's obvious, but they don't. We challenge them at every turn. Why are you deleting our accounts? Why are you trying to seize our funds for 180 days without explanation? They won't give a reason. So they've got the controls to the social media and the crowdfunding, and they abuse it to manipulate it the way that they want. So we're having to do everything the hard way to alert the populace to safeguard our children. And yet, guys, you'd think it'd be the biggest no-brainer on earth that we could all agree on to safeguard children, right? All of us have been children. We should all agree that we wouldn't want to be raped by a full-grown man. And my wife says, if you got to take a diaper off of a baby to rape it, something is seriously wrong.
Jesus Christ.
We got a problem here, guys.
Yeah. You, me?
I was just going to say, that dropped like a bomb.
Yeah, I don't even know how to respond to that. Sorry.
So one of the things that I'm seeing, it is this one, the attack on the family environment. I mean, you talked about that in the beginning. And the second thing is this politically correct world we're living in, that we're trying to give minors that minors are entitled to their rights. I know that there was a bill that just got submitted in Virginia that basically underage girls as young as 13 can have an abortion without getting their parents' permission. They're trying to submit that bill right now. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, that is a health concern. I mean, this is, you're a parent. So it's the same thing with this information on the phones. Like you would try and say, hey, we need to protect our children. And you have people out there that are saying, no, that's their private information. You shouldn't be able to do that. So, Craig, how are you voicing that? Obviously there is the in your face. I mean, this is disgusting, but you're pushing against a hard wall. So how are you guys attacking, this PC world we live in where it's about personal privacy when we're talking about kids?
Yeah. Well, I hearken back to my father's leadership on the moral front, to have moral courage. And I see that a lot of warriors that have great physical discipline, a great physical courage to run into harm's way on the battlefield seem to be terrified of making a righteous moral stand publicly, because they're so afraid that someone may not approve of them. And that's been disappointing for me to see. But I've decided that, again, I want to be more like the man that my father was and follow his leadership on that. And I think making that moral stand is what I'm about now. So shooting a documentary is and walking the American populace through the nature of the threat, what actually is happening, so that they can see it and understand what it is that they would not be able to believe if we just told them, because quite frankly, it's too big and it's too ugly for most average people to actually believe until they can see it. So we show them from all the experts, the surviving victims and the witnesses and the perpetrators themselves and running the operations, and we'll put out an ad and you see thousands of predators locally responding immediately. It's sickening to realize there are 50,000 predators online at any time, 24/7, just trolling and scanning, watching for the children. So it's really about that for me. It's just about standing up and saying, look, folks, we've got a threat and we're not being warned about it the way that we should. So I'm going to try to do as much as I can on that front as a citizen.
So I have a question. And
yes, sir.
I'm asking this with the utmost respect. This is a serious question. Now, I believe, and you believe, and Jay does, that things happen for a reason. There's greater things that happen that align us to who we are and what we do with our passion. Do you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
So
yep, it's true.
You started this project years and years ago, 5-6 years ago. And then shortly after that, something happened that affected your life. And the listeners need to hear that you were doing this before this specifically happened, but how passionate you are and how you were so fucking driven, and you have so much, you take so much action that you've powered through this. Can you elaborate on the question that I just asked, sir?
Yeah, I can, brother. So when I realized that the threat was so severe and it was so secretive, I understood that shattering that darkness, shattering that veil of secrecy was my best strategic play on the giant scale. Compromise the enemy's mission so that all the American people recognize it and are actively hostile against it, so that we create a non-permissive environment for child trafficking, right?
Yeah.
Because none of us as a Navy SEAL, if we're on a covert operation, guys, overseas, one of the things we don't want to happen is we get compromised, because then we're probably running for the helicopters, right? At that point, we're calling in all kind of air cover, and we don't want to get compromised. We want to enjoy that secrecy and violence of action, element of surprise. So I wanted to take that from the bad guys. So I set out to create a documentary, and a lot of my contacts in the film and television industry said, yeah, we'll help. We'll make the documentary. It'll be great. And a couple of years went by, and they just never did. They were shining me on. And I eventually realized I was going to have to fund this myself. I was going to have to do it independently. It's going to have to be an indie film. I was going to have to put it together and do everything the hard way. That's why I started crowdfunding. And then we experienced all the hostility from the crowdfunding platforms that would inexplicably combat us and try to stop our effort to raise the money to create this documentary. And so people said, Craig, if you really want to raise the money, you're going to end up having to found a nonprofit organization. I'm like, oh, I don't want that. I don't want that like a hole in the head, because that's going to just be
it's painful,
bureaucratic nightmare. And it's just, there's so much, bureaucratic paperwork that gets done. It's like, that's the only thing you can do, spending your time filling out all the paperwork and meeting all the requirements. I'm a man of action, not bureaucracy. But anyway, I resigned myself to it. I realized, okay, that is the only path forward to fund this and make it happen. Right? And so once we committed to it, seemed like no sooner than we committed and filled out the paperwork to make a nonprofit organization. And I started bringing a board of heavy hitter board of advisors and board of directors on, and some senior officials from the CIA, from the FBI, Navy admiral, people that were really, really smart on this problem and had the big connections and solutions. Then our own daughter, Aspen, got abducted at knife point in Arizona, down by the University of Arizona, one night, and sexually assaulted for hours. And I was woken up by my wife saying, oh my God, Craig, it's Aspen. She's been raped. And she had just gotten out of a situation where she was suffering from some depression. She had tried to become a vegan. And anyway, her body was catastrophically low in B12, and which causes psychosis and depression. So we were already worried about our baby girl, and she had just turned 18, and we were rallying around her and loving on her, and she wanted to go out and spend the night with her girlfriends, and we were worried about it, but she's like, no, it'll be fine. And sure enough, she was going into a Subway sandwich restaurant to go use the restroom, and when she came out, this guy approached her and put a knife right in her side under his jacket and walked her into the darkness, and then moved her around town several times throughout that night and assaulted her sexually over and over again. So I could hear, when Tressa was on the phone with her, I could hear our baby girl screaming through the phone. She was hysterical. At that point, she'd just gotten away from him and gotten back to her car, and she was coming home. So I wanted her to give me a cross street intersection where I could call the sheriff's department, have them intervene, and make her safe, and take her from that point, and we could all converge on her, bring her to the station for safety. And she wasn't stopping. She wasn't stopping until she got home. So the sheriff's department responded to our home. We got our baby girl back. We took her to the hospital. I asked her on the way, I said, "Sweetie, there's a crossroads here. You got you got a decision to make. Either we're going to insulate you from this and try to separate you from it and heal you and move you forward, or you can fight back. And that's 100% your call. You have to decide what it is that you need." And she said, "Oh, Papa, this guy can't be allowed to rape anymore. I'm fighting back." And I said, "Okay, well, they're going to ask you a lot of invasive and painful questions, and they're going to poke you with needles you've never even seen or heard of before. The rape kit's pretty invasive, and it's not fun." She goes, "I don't care. Whatever it takes, we're going to get this SOB." And God bless her. She did. That was in March of 2017, guys, and it took Tucson 2.5 years to put this guy on trial, but we put him away guilty on all 7 counts. They convicted him on all fronts, and she was made to testify against her own rapist. He was allowed to stand there and berate her and accuse her of all kinds of falsehood, and paint whatever crazy and insane picture he wanted to try to exonerate himself, and for over 2 hours. And she had to sit there and testify, but she did it professionally, she did it factually, and she absolutely dismantled that rapist with the truth. And all the forensics experts that brought in the video footage and the DNA footage and the physical evidence of the different types demonstrated 100% that she was accurate in her testimony. She destroyed her attacker right there. So, look, it's an inspiration to us all to see a little baby girl. She's a petite in stature. She's a tiny girl. To see her so brave and know that she was loved, and that she matters, and to have the spirit and the courage to fight back, and to watch her put him away. He's gone for 68 years now. He's 34 years old already. So they're putting him away for 68 years. So he's not going to be allowed to get out and rape anymore. He was a serial rapist. He'd done it for years and years. He's been in and out of jail and prison his entire life. In fact, he should not have been on the streets. Our daughter's rape should have never happened. But the city of Tucson is pretty soft on child sex offenders, and this guy had a warrant that they never bothered to serve, and so he was allowed to be on the loose again, and find yet another victim until he finally found the wrong one. And
holy smokes, brother!
He said, sometimes things happen for a reason. I would have given. I would have given my life in defense of my daughter that night. And I think everybody can kind of readily understand that. But what good can come of it? Well, I'll tell you what. We've told her story in our documentary Contraland that's being finished. It's in the editing bay studio right now in Burbank, being completed. And we're going to reach tens or maybe more than 100 million people with that documentary. And they're going to see her story. They're going to see a girl fight back. And we've already had young ladies expressed that they found their voice, they found their footing to speak out on their own cases, whereas before they were too intimidated, they felt too stifled, they didn't feel brave enough, and her speaking her voice inspired them and motivated them to speak out, and they're finding their own voice and their own satisfaction and their own strength. And so she's already empowering other victims and survivors. And so, yes, good can come from any attack and any adversary. And there does seem to be a plan for us all. And I think it's wise to look past the immediate tragedy and find the value in it. Yes, we're being surf tortured in buds. Yes, it sucks. Yes, it's cold. Yes, I wish I was somewhere else. But from going through this, I'm being hardened. I'm being empowered. I'm being, my resolve is being strengthened. And when I go on the battlefield, nobody will survive my relentless attack because I've been hardened, and I will fight like a lion for the freedom and liberty that I'm defending and the people that I love and care about. So, there's a reason for adversity. It makes us, if we allow it to, it makes us stronger and more effective. And I just encourage people to look for it. A lot of times it's not till later on in life that we start looking back in hindsight and go, wow, this horrible thing that happened to me that I felt so sorry for myself over has shaped my character and my determination, and look at the good that has come from it. Oh my gosh, I hadn't seen that until now. So yeah, there does seem to be a kind of a divine wisdom and a plan for these things, guys. And I think when we scan the horizon and consider it, look back on our journey, it's been the hardest obstacles that have brought about the most strength and capability and positive outcome in the end.
Well, brother, my heart,
Yeah.
I'm torn up, man. I got teenage daughters, and just to listen to that story ripped my heart out. So as a brother, much love to you, man. I wrap you in a warrior hug, man. I would have laid down my life for your daughter. I would lay down my life for my daughters, for Ray's daughter. I don't care for any daughter out there. No father should ever have to go through that. No parent should ever have to go through that with their children. So, hey, man, what you guys are doing is amazing. And people need to know, if you're listening to this show and you have kids, you need to be aware that this is real. This is a threat. It is happening. I mean, $38 billion is the industry to abduct kids, to traffic them. And that is the even scarier part of what happened to Craig's daughter, is that it could have, thank God this guy, it's horrific enough, and I don't want to say it like this, but thank God he did not take her elsewhere and move her into some kind of pipeline that would have got her out of the country or got her someplace where she would have been in that. And that's the reality of what they're doing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we are grateful for many things, even through this.
Yeah.
So
anything that you need for support, media. I seriously, people say it all the time, and I'm a fucking emotional wreck right now. Anything that you need, because when you tell this story, it resonates because you're a mentor, and we all have daughters, and it's not even with girls. We have children. So anything that you need, anything, you please let us know. I will promote, push, get on the streets with a sign, and I mean it. I do.
Craig,
thank you, Ray. Well, we're used to having government funding and being covert operators and silent, quiet professionals, because the budget's already taken care of. When I founded a nonprofit org, now I'm left to have to go beat the drum and rally support, because I can't move professionals around the world or around the country to run these operations. And by the way, we've arrested 21 child predators with a 100% conviction rate, and warrants for 3 more. And we've got 3 more states with invites for further operations there. So our mission is growing. We run direct operations with federal and local law enforcement. A lot of times there will be 5 to 8 agencies involved in each operation that we run. So we're taking action on this. And we're getting serious convictions in these cases, and it does take funding. So 501c3 nonprofit org is dependent upon the donations of people that donate, private citizens that donate to the org. A lot of people think because we're getting so much done, we've got a giant multi-million-dollar government funding stream. We don't. These are $5, $10, and $100 donations by people that love us and care about our fight for the kids. So, man, a lot of big donors are sitting back thinking we're covered, but we're not covered. We're fighting.
Well, Craig, this whole show you've talked about the action that you've taken, and I mean above and beyond what anyone has done, what you've been through. So, how do others out there who are listening to this show, how do they take action? That's the critical thing. You know, tell us where they can go. How can they make that donation? When does Contraland come out? When can they watch it so that we raise this awareness? People need to know, and they need to reach in your pocket. If you never want to see this happen to you or your kids, fight. You got to take action and fight. Where do they go?
Yeah, man. So the website is kind of the one-stop shop for information and empowerment, vetsforchildrescue.org. And that is our website. We've got videos on there of what we do. We've got a trailer for our video Contraland. Contraland is in the final editing bay studio right now. It will be completed within another week or two and post-editing. And then they have to just solve the distribution agreement. So it depends on what network, where it's going to air for the biggest reach. So it has the biggest positive impact. So we don't know when it'll air because that will be dependent upon whatever network wants it, and we'll air it. So it could be Amazon Prime, Netflix, it could be HBO, it could be a lot of different, could just about anywhere right now. The sky's the limit. So we've got that yet to solve. But we've got information on apps that are proven to be potential danger for our children right on our website. We've got our arrests and the case numbers right on our website. We've got our financials so that big donors that want to look under our hood and see what we do with our donations, it's all right there. The official docs from the IRS right there. We've got a platinum level rating for our transparency. So everything is absolutely is honorable and straight and as lean as we can make it. And I think we've proven ourselves in spades. So it's just it's inspiring and motivating when people wear our T-shirts out there and show their love for our mission and support, and let their district attorneys and sheriffs know about our mission. Let the school teachers and principals know about our mission and our partner orgs that help us do what we do in a little bit different aspect. And so I think what they can do, go to the website, learn, share the word, empower others with the knowledge that there is a threat, and steer them to Vets for Child Rescue on how to help combat it, and pray. You know, there is a spiritual aspect to this at its core. It is the front line between good and evil. When my federal agent friends say that, Craig, once you get past all the sex and the money and the blackmail and the political leverage, what you end up here with what's going on against the children is an intentionally abusive and very dark effort that is the front line between good and evil. It'll creep you right out. So there's a lot of weirdos, and some people are just crazy, and some people are, you know, there's all different types of reasons that people are harming the children. And my whole thing is, I just want it to stop.
Amen.
Amen.
So once again, go to vets4childrescue.org, guys. And also go follow Craig. He has had multiple platforms that have deleted him. You know, information is power, and some of these people up there obviously don't like, for whatever reason. I mean, it's like having rats in the darkness. You shine the light on them and suddenly you see them, and they don't like that. So Craig, can you give us your social handles so people can follow you?
Yeah, we've got Veterans for Child Rescue Facebook page, so we invite you to go there. There's a Vets for Child Res on Twitter, and we've got a Vets for Child Rescue Instagram, so please go there, and that's how they can best support the mission. And I've also got my own stuff. It's Craig Sawman Sawyer on Facebook, and Craig R. Sawyer on Twitter, and then Real Sawman on Instagram.
And
so,
guys, we'll put those up on the, if you go watch the YouTube video, we'll have those on the screen so you'll be able to see them. Hey, go follow this. I mean, unless you're just an evil person, how could you not support this mission? So, all right, holy smokes, man. I feel like my heart is laying on the floor and got stomped on. It hurts. And Craig, I can't imagine what you've been through, brother, and your daughter. Just tell her much love from teammates. There's no doubt about it. So we're gonna wrap this show, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna close. I'm just gonna do a quick shout out on action, just really quick.
Yeah,
guys. Craig's word of the day is action. The Overcome and Conquer show is about these words of the day. If there is any other time in the history of the show that we ask you to fulfill the word of the day, it is today on this show. Man, I am broken up when I think about what I heard. And if you don't ever want to experience that in your life, in your friend's life, in your kid's life, this is a real threat. It exists. Craig is standing on the front lines with Vets for Child Rescue. He is a man of action. They need funding. I know it. I worked in the nonprofit space. It doesn't happen by well wishes and, you lay in bed and you say a prayer that you wish this won't happen to your kids. That's all a component. But at the end of the day, it takes funding to make these things happen. Funding enables action. That's what these guys are doing. Please, please, find a way to support, even if it's only $10, it makes a difference, but hopefully you can give more than that. Just think about that. You are giving to hopefully prevent this from happening to your kids. If you don't have kids, it's to prevent it from happening to other kids that are out there. So,
well, guys, look, I want to say thanks to both of you for putting this show on. I appreciate you having me on and giving me a chance to speak my voice for the children. And it's great fun, chatting with two teammates, Navy SEALs, all the way around on this show. So this has been a kick. I've enjoyed it. So yeah, it's a heavy subject, but if it's hard for us to speak about, and it is, just imagine the kids that are suffering the unthinkable. So I think it's just important that I just have to do what I can. So I appreciate you guys being part of the solution and helping get the word out. So you guys' comms are very important. So God bless you for it, man. That's strength of character right there.
Thanks, so.
Amen. All right, guys. This has been another episode of the Overcome and Conquer show. I am Jason Overcome Redmond.
And I am Ray Cashcare.
And we are out.
Boom.
Thanks for listening to the Overcome and Conquer show. Tune in next time, and please remember to subscribe on iTunes. Please visit overcomeandconquer.com.
The Overcome and Conquer show is presented by The Project. The Project is a full immersion, 75-hour experience designed for men who know in their core they are not living up to their fullest potential. Rather than waking up every morning ready to dominate life, the mediocre man rolls out of bed and slides into the same unfulfilling routine they've unhappily been in for way too long. The Project is for men that have lost their eternal flame and motivation to conquer. It is for men living an unfulfilling life that lacks the excitement and purpose. If this resonates with you and you want to learn more, we encourage you to apply today at www.mdkproject.com/OC show. Boom!